Hey everybody, this is Perch. I haven't covered the Rippaverse very much on the channel. I mentioned pieces of it, but basically this is Eric July's comic imprint. And I have zero belief that he listens to his channel or that anybody involved listens to his channel, but there's a few things that they've done with those books that I think fit, what I say around gaining momentum, getting books out, and, just pushing that clock. One of the things about comics that I feel a lot of people ignore or forget is that you just have to have a consistency in getting books out the door and getting these things put together. And so if you're starting out from zero, basically you're new company doing brand new things, you've got to create some momentum around your book, and that's really hard, especially if you're crowdfunding, where the general mechanism is set up to you're doing it all yourself. I think. I hear a lot of disparaging comments at times about crowdfunding for a variety of reasons that have nothing to do with the comics, but you do have to hand it to whoever's doing the crowdfunding and that they're writing, drawing, editing, putting it together. I mean, maybe there's a team behind it, but then they're also dealing with shipping and fulfillment. So one of the reasons why I think Zoop has been popular and does a lot of great work, because they take care of a lot of those aspects and they let the creators go back to just being the creators. But to take my advice of you need to gain some momentum by putting out frequent books and getting on that track, that means you're signing up for a lot of work, and a lot of work that has nothing to do with creating comics. So it's challenging, and my hat is off to whoever is tackling it, whatever and whoever they might be. But I have this mail here that we're going to read, say Rippaverse versus Valiant, which I'm going to be honest is not a comparison I saw coming. But let's see what the mail says. It says. It goes right into it. There's no hello Perch, no niceties. So we move past that stage. Okay, it's fine. It says, I've always been a big fan of Valiant. They've been around way longer. The Rippaverse seems like it accomplished way more than Valiant in 2 years. I've looked at Eric July's art and character designs. Not impressed. Valiant's got Ninjak, Shadowman, and Harbinger, and Faith. I know how we all joke about her. But in the early 2010s, Valiant was steamrolling all the titles connected and seemed like they were going places. What is Eric July on? Issue number 2. Does he even have a long game? You got EVS and July just spending more time on their channel than the comic. I just can't get behind creators that do that. Okay. That's the mail. First off, is there a comparison between the Rippaverse and Valiant that I'm unaware of? Because I admit that's not a comparison that I think people are making. Are they making? I don't know. The other thing is like, look, if you're asking my opinion, who's accomplished more, the Rippaverse or Valiant? In the last 2 years, like literally, 2023, 2024, the Rippaverse has more momentum and dollars than Valiant. No doubt about it. I think, even the most hardened anti-Eric July person would have a hard time disputing that. There's been more money put together. There's been more of the comics themselves. We don't know what kind of other licensing deals or stuff are going on behind the scenes. Who knows? For all we know, all kinds of things are going on. I think we know, but anyway. But in terms of kind of getting books out and other things, there seems to be more momentum. But keep in mind, I don't believe it's a fair comparison, because if we're going to compare, the origins of Rippaverse, meaning the last couple of years, or I guess 2 years. When did the Rippaverse begin? About a year and a half ago? That's a legitimate question. I don't know. I think about a year and a half ago. Let's just go with that. But fuck it. Let's just say 2 years. In the last 2 years, the Rippaverse has made progress, certainly in getting started up. But if you're going to do a true apples to apples comparison, you need to compare that against the first 2 years of Valiant, meaning back in the 90s. You got to go, back to that origin point. And again, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, as a comparison, it's a weird one. In the 90s, there was a lot of momentum behind comics. I mean, even with the comic store bust and the free fall, when Valiant got started, there was a lot more action around comic books in general. It was a much healthier much healthier time to go play, and so it got a lot of progress there. And they had video game deals, and they had, a lot of other things. I guess when there's an ISOM, video game, then you can start comparing it to, say, Turok over in Valiant. So, I mean, right? I mean, I just don't think it's a comparison. But the other thing is, Valiant was running comics through the direct market, and they were putting, their whole game was, deliver a lot of books, license them off to merchandise and shows and video games and everything else. And the Rippaverse business model is crowdfunding and raising money for comics and doing campaigns. So I mean, are those the same? I don't think that. I just don't think they're the same at all. It's by the way, for what it's worth, why I struggle a lot when people on YouTube are talking about how they're killing Marvel and DC with a crowdfunded book. It's not the same. Like you're not even in the same business. Yes, the product is a comic book, but if you're trying to compare, like I made $1 million off of my campaign versus whatever the hell the New Mutants got for its distribution, or I mean, like there's so many ways that this is just an illogical comparison. And I just don't think you can put them together other than just the comic book product itself. And then you're down into subjective territory where you'll say, like, all right, which had the better art and package? Was it Isom or was it, Harbinger? I mean, like, is that, but, and I mean this question legitimately. I'm not asking this question, I don't even. I'm not even talking correctly. Look, I just. Why would anyone want to make that comparison? I'm in all fairness, like why would you want to do that? I'm not sure what you gain from it. Is the goal to say that the Rippaverse is more popular and doing better than Valiant, a comic company that got to start, almost 30 years ago or more? I mean, like, what is that the race that we're having now, and why? Like, how does that benefit anyone? I mean, I can see if you're, Eric July and you're taking shots at Marvel or DC and you're saying my quality is better than those guys and I'm doing better comics because they're the big boys on top and that's how you're going to promote your work. I would assume he would still understand that it's all subjective to whoever's reading this stuff. But, I guess I could see that. But if you were to say I'm a stronger, more powerful comic company as Eric July Rippaverse to Marvel, I mean, A, that's absurd. And B, like, why would you, why? What do you have to gain from that comparison? At the end of the day, it's, we'll see. I mean, is Eric July going to be in on it and, push the Rippaverse? Basically the test will be in 10 years from now, are comic books still being produced? Has the line grown? Is there more? Have there been some licensing deals? Are some people talking about a video game out there? I don't, whatever. That's the kind of stuff that I think is what we should be looking for if you're talking about, how a comic book company is going to progress. I don't think the only path is a direct market by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think that you have to do that, nor that should be something that you're tied to. But I do think you're going to need to, comic books are media. At the end of the day, media is produced in order to be consumed. And so how many people are reading these books, who's buying in, what additional products and services can we attach to this media? That's going to be how all this is judged. That's the common denominator. And at the moment, that's just, Rippaverse is just getting started. Valiant is hopefully not the end of its life, but it kind of feels that way half the time. I mean, there's a lot of good IP there, but, the story with Valiant has been severe mismanagement in the last several years, and they've taken whatever goodwill they had in a lot of their IP and blown it. And so I don't know, how do you gain that back? That's the challenge for Valiant, is that, at the end of the day, you want to sell comics, you want to have these properties mean something. In theory, you paid for it, and there's some pretty hefty IP there if you can do something with it. So how do you make the property valuable enough that that IP gets valuable again? And for the Rippaverse, is the IP going to be valuable? It is for Eric July and what he's doing, but, are people going to want to license it? Are they going to want to do things with it? Are people knocking on doors to, be able to, have T-shirts made from it? Or is Eric going to want to do those things himself? I mean, These are all questions, and they're legitimate questions for us to watch and wait and see of what will happen. But at the moment, Valiant's test is, can it survive and can it regain its former glory? Rippaverse's test is, can it churn out comics and achieve a stable base and grow from there and expand? That's both of them are on different journeys. And so, if you're comparing 2 years of Rippaverse to the first 2 years of Valiant, like I said, I think Valiant has that in the bag, but Valiant was also playing a game of, a very friendly market, distribution centers that were out there and the ability to do all this. They had, studio deals, racking up almost from day one. So there's a lot that was going on. But, obviously the Valiant of today is not where anyone, I think, wants it to be. Certainly not Valiant. So, we'll see. But maybe somebody could help me out. I'm like, was there a video? Did somebody do a I'm better than Valiant? Is this like, is Eric July doing this? I don't know. I'm legitimately asking. This comparison confuses me because I don't think it makes any sense. But maybe there's more to it, and I answered the question entirely wrong because I missed out on that context. And if so, I'm sorry. But anyway, you could take from this. That's how I look at comic companies. That's how I would judge them. That's how I would think about them. Is exactly like that. I would basically be looking at, what's the growth trajectory? How does it look like? Do they have stability? Do they have marketing? Are they thinking about new places to send it? Are they thinking about international and how to get comics out there? Like, these are all things you want to look at. A lot of crowdfunded projects, and I don't mean disrespect by this, but a lot of crowdfunded projects are vanity projects. They're projects where the creator doesn't want to make a business. The creator wants to make a comic, certainly profit and make some money off of it, but it's more I want to do something without, Marvel editorial or DC editorial telling me what to do. I want to have my own vision, and I believe in my vision. I hope it works out, but I'm not trying to create a corporation. I'm trying to create a comic book. And, I think, at least from what I understand, that Eric July is trying to make a corporation, or he's trying to make a company that has long-term legs. He's not trying to sell one comic a year or do something. He's trying to expand. And so, that's his journey that he's going to be on. But anyway, please let me know if I missed some context in this, but that's how I think about it, and hopefully that's helpful. How about you? How do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.